time aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. Richard Kerr and I are recording from a remote location, actually two different remote locations, as it were. So we have two of the most interesting backdrops to start 2024. A lot going on in the background there, Mr. Kerr.
Yeah, here in my dad's office in Charleston, South Carolina. Usually there's a light right in front of me. So if you're watching on the podcast, I always count on this light to front light me. But because it's the morning here, I'm completely backlit and there's nothing I can do about it. We got a whole host of Kerrs behind the double doors behind me being held at bay here. So we're gonna do the best we can to power through.
And I am in a similar situation. My father had knee surgery a couple weeks ago, so I've been his primary caregiver. I am currently perched in his second bedroom office upstairs. It's a picture of my sister behind me as a baby. I had to move a whole bunch of crap because he's a hoarder just to make space, but he's downstairs. So if you hear moans and groans and screaming and yelling, that's my dad still recovering. So this is the joys of video podcasting. It used to be when we were just audio, we could record from anywhere, and people were like, "Oh, hey, where were you guys this week?" It is very obvious we are not where we're supposed to be this week.
I don't even know where I'm supposed to be anymore.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. That's our theme for this week of our what our 2024 is gonna look like. But we got a couple of housekeeping notes and some pretty awesome ones. First off, though, if you're just tuning in and you want to send us a question, you can text the show or call us and leave us a voicemail at 571-293-6659, and you can email ed@pizzainmotion.com to email in questions as well. We do have a listener, more of a comment than anything else I'm going to get to in just a second. But on social media, he is at Kerr Points, and I am at Pizza in Motion. So let me start by saying that I got a pretty interesting Facebook message. It was from a woman named Allison, and she was nice enough to tell me that you had vetted her as not a podcast stalker.
Yeah, it's very select few people that I would ever hand our actual addresses out to. But I've known Allison for many years now in the Points and Miles world, and she's one of the good people that I had no problem when she said she wanted to give you a little favor. That I said, yeah, you're one of the very few to make the short list that I would give you Ed's actual address.
Yes, you did, and she did, and I got home yesterday, and I had this package, and it says, "Ed, happy holidays," and there you see from, if you're watching on video, Allison and Joey, thank you so much. She said, "I love my," wait for it, Yeti. If you're watching on video, there's my new Yeti mug. And she said, "Hopes works for you." Now, I made coffee well over a half hour ago, and it is still pretty warm. I did make one tactical error because I put a lot of cream in my coffee, so I needed to put the cream in the coffee and something else first, then microwave it up to a hot temperature, and then pour it into the Yeti. But I'm learning, man. I'm learning. I'm barreling into the 19th century.
The saga of Ed's hot coffee now has been going on for many weeks in the Slack community, and people are just really concerned about your making sure that your coffee stays warm. I'm touched for you, man, because of how invested people are now ensuring that your coffee stays warm.
I am too. But I'm touched by something else even more, and I'll admit, even I'm a little bit surprised by this. I know we have a great community, but going back to last week, we talked about we were going to do this fundraiser for Pinky Swear, a really cool organization that helps families and kids, started by an entrepreneurial 9-year-old boy who ended up passing away well before his time. And so we decided to kick off this fundraiser. And there's two things I think that are super awesome about this. First off is you and I recorded, and then shortly after we recorded, we had a happy hour in the Slack community. Brief aside, if you want to support the show, you'll see some links in the show notes to join the Slack community, a few bucks a month, or you can buy an annual membership. We just gave away a 1-year United Club membership to one of the members of the Slack community, and we got some other cool giveaways coming in 2024. But that's not the cool part, although that is cool. So we talked about this on happy hour, less than 24 hours after you and I recorded, and a couple people in the Slack community asked for the link for the fundraiser. And we weren't ready to publish it yet because the episode was still days away from going live. And we had set a goal of $2,000 to raise for the fundraiser. Well, 24 hours after we sent the link out, the entire Slack community had already just about maxed out the $2,000, and we had to move the goal for the campaign. And so the Slack community themselves just kicked some serious ass to get us past our goal. And we are now sitting at just shy of $3,500. And that's before the matches from Corey, who's a member of the community, and us from Miles to Go. So we're closing in on $5,000 raised. And I just think it's super cool that not only the Slack community, I've gotten messages from a handful of people that have, reached out and donated. And I just think it's cool that all these people that you and I haven't met got behind a charity that we support, and we're going to raise, $5,000 to help these kids.
Always great. Frequent flyers are really a juxtaposition of personalities, right? You started the show by saying, I just love people. And I've never heard Ed say that ever in however many years. Usually we don't talk about how much we love people. On one hand, you got people that just smash deals in the most selfish manner ever. But on the other hand, anytime we put the word out for a Disney fundraiser, Toys for Tots for Christmas, or now Pinky Swear, like people just respond without question. And it just restores a little bit of the faith that we have in humanity and the people that we've been around for. Me for a decade and you for, I don't know, how old are you now? Like three decades you've been doing this? I don't know. But it's been awesome.
It has been a long time, and that's a really good tie into our listener comment question this week. But to your point, I think there's a good cross section of people in the Points of Miles community who, like you said, are willing to crush the heck out of a deal, but also want to do good things for others. And I'm super happy for all the folks that did that here. We will throw the link up one more time because we probably are going to close the fundraiser out in the next week or two, but there'll be a link below here that Jeremiah will throw in if you do want to donate. We appreciate whatever you donate, and I think it's super awesome to see all the people that have come out to support it. So in talking about how long I've been in this community, at some point, Richard, you and I, we're going to have to hand the torch off to the next generation. I mean, it's at some point. Maybe not yet. I'm not ready to retire just yet, but...
I was like, what? Starting the new year here with a bang.
But we got a listener, I won't call it a question, a listener correspondence from John. Good afternoon, Ed. Hope you're doing well. I've been listening to the Miles to Go podcast a lot recently, and I've really enjoyed listening to it. I'm 16 years old, and I've been in the Miles and Point space for a couple of years now. If you're in the need of a guest for the podcast, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to. Keep up the great work with the podcast. Hope you and Richard have a great weekend.
That's how you started right there. 16, man. All the time I tell people, and it's funny to say it, the next generation, when I go to conferences and stuff now, especially a few this fall, and just see all the young people in their early 20s, like, what if we knew what we know now, man, when we were in our teens? Like, how much different would college have been? Or was it John's case? When you're 16 and you're starting to figure this stuff out, man, you're setting yourself up for a lot of adventure and awesome stuff. So kudos on you, man. Keep going.
Yeah, kudos to John. We will have to figure out a topic, see if we can squeeze John on. I think back to, I was just getting involved when the whole Randy Peterson magazine subscription, people were turning magazine subscriptions for Inside Flyer into tickets on the Concorde. And that was when just at the start of when I was getting involved. So I missed out on some stuff early on. And boy, man, if I could start when I was 16, man, I'd be crushing it right now. So, all right. So as we sit here in our remote recording locations, we talked a little bit about what we wanted to frame up this week. I am trying to chase down Summer and Julian to come sort of do a 2024 Outlook show. But for today, Richard, I just want to talk a little bit about what we think we're going to do for 2024. Richard even texted me a few resolutions, and and I'll be honest, I had to laugh, and I want to make sure I get the quote right because it's perfect. He goes, quote unquote, I promise to pick an airline and stay with them. That's so funny.
Yeah,
that's so
cute.
Look,
we can all have good goals to start out the year. It's funny we bring up resolutions. I dare I say it, man, I've been reading a little bit as of late. A few books have popped up, and nothing makes Mrs. Kerr more happy than if she walks in the room and sees me reading a book. She's almost like floored and falls on the ground because she can't believe I'm not watching another football game or something. It always brings up this time of year of goals and whatever. And something I've learned working at Built and that I've thought a lot about the last year and look forward to is, I'm going to say it, man, I don't think I believe in goals anymore. And I say that to mean I think much more in the process than a specific goal. I think goals almost set you up for failure because once you reach a goal, then what, right? Or if something happens along your journey to that goal and that goal isn't the best thing for you or your business or your family, like goals need to be flexible and adjustable.
Yep.
Which is counterproductive to what the definition of a goal is. So I was going to say right now, as of 2024, I'm not a goal guy anymore, but I'm much more going to be a process guy, whether that's for points and miles or credit card spend or what is the process going to be here for my family, for my business, for relationships, rather than my goal doesn't need to be, okay, I need 4 really good friends. The process should be what am I going to do to remember to text people or call people or take the initiative myself? What is that process going to be rather than how do I get 4 friends, right? So same for sticking to an airline, right? What is my process this year going to be for travel? Every time I go to book a flight, is it going to be, hey, the goal is to have status next year on United again? Or is it going to be, my process is going to be, what is going to make this trip the most efficient and just less stressful, right? And then maybe that means I don't have any status for airlines next year. Like, I don't know, man, but that's kind of where my head is at right now, more than what is my goal going to be. And I would challenge everybody to think about: are you a goal person? Which I'm not saying this is right. I'm saying this is Richard Kerr's view of the world right now at 37 years old. So I don't know, man. What do you think? Are you? Yeah. Everybody's like, people meet me now and they're like, you're not 40? I'm like almost offended at how many people are. They're like, I thought you were at least 47, man. Especially we get new employees that Bill, and like I'm on the Zoom screen and they meet me and they're like, oh, this guy's old. And then they meet me and they're like, wait a minute, you're only 37? I'm like, yeah, thanks. I'll take that as you think I'm much wiser sounding than I am. But I don't know, man. What do you think? Are you a goal guy? Are you a process guy? Or you got something else for what you're thinking overall for the next year?
So for my and this is more like the quote unquote day job, but it's sort of how I feel about points and miles and travel as well. I'm a culture guy. Short version is we tore the restaurants down to the studs 2 years ago from a culture standpoint and said we're going to rebuild the culture, and then that will help us achieve whatever our goals are. And at the end of the day, to your point, things change constantly. I mean, COVID taught me that, and so I too am not necessarily specifically goal oriented. We set things we want our teams to achieve, but as I translate that to the points and miles side, yeah, I mean, look, I spent 3 or 4 weeks chasing United the last month or so trying to get global services squared away for next year. But I also I ultimately did getting that reconciled, which maybe we'll talk about next week. But along the way too, I'll be honest, I wasn't really that stressed about it. It was sort of like, look, directionally, I know where I want to go. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like domestic travel is domestic travel. It is what it is. It's gonna be.
It sucks.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be as good or as bad as it can be within some specific margin. And as you know, what we get from, and I'll use United because you and I are both flying United a bunch in 2023 and probably in 2024. Like whatever it is, it's gonna whether they get better or worse in 2024. You and I will roll with that expectation. We won't sit there saying we expect it to be the way it was a year ago because we know these things are going to change. We're going to have zero control over it. And a friend of ours who's a Disney nerd, was reaching out to me yesterday about an experience she had on United, and it was about the flight attendants. The short version is the flight attendants forgot to secure the galley carts, and the cart that had all the salads and desserts upon takeoff launched, and all the plates just smashed, everything everywhere, huge mess. And it's like, okay, well, that's, and she was in first class with her family. Okay, that's bad, but, not horrible, whatever. And it was one of those things where she was writing this to tell me, not that she was upset, to be clear, because she's a 1K, but she was saying it was funny how after this happened, they came out and spent a half hour to 40 minutes explaining to the passengers what happened instead of offering them drinks. And she was like, I just thought it was funny that their first inclination was just to not actually do service, but just to tell us why we couldn't eat on this flight. And she goes I don't want you to think, I don't want you to think I'm complaining. You're a 1K too. I figured you'd get a laugh out of it. And I told her hey, Richard, Summer, and Glitter Mike and I all have a text thread that's frequently will devolve into, hey, here's what's happening on United this week. And we all just sort of shrug our shoulders and laugh about it because we kind of know that's the deal.
Remember when Gibb from God Save the Points had the galley card on American come out and hit him because they didn't secure it? Dude, those things will take you out. And if they hit a kid or an elderly person, man, those things that would hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that didn't hit anybody and just spilled the food instead, because that could seriously crunch somebody. I'm sure that happens actually all the time. That doesn't surprise me at all. I've seen things fly across the galley and take off and landing all the time. And even actually we landed in Frontier, and the kid behind me, his Nintendo Switch, when they hit the brakes on the runway, it went flying at least 20 rows up, through everybody's feet. And the mom was trying to get up when everybody was trying to get out of the plane and find the switch. I was down looking as much as I could, but yeah, man, I see it all the time. I digress. No, I would agree.
Yeah.
It's domestic travel is domestic travel. That's the same for every airline. I wouldn't say that United stands out any less or more these days than Delta or whatever, man. It's much more up to that personnel that you got serving that flight that day, and then whatever's going on in the larger ops picture. And they're all basically the same, in my opinion.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I will say, I still am something of a completist, and it sort of goes to something else you texted me about your other resolution. I promise to stick with Hyatt and reach the new.
I don't know what a completist
rewards.
means. I'm a slow Georgia boy. You got to explain that one to me.
Oh, completist is you got to check off all the boxes. You got to do all the things. Okay. And so I do want to bury the the needle on the Hyatt chart at 150 nights in 2024. Even if it means that I like sacrifice value somewhere else, just to say that I did it. Will I be upset if I don't? I mean, at this age,
Yes.
no, I won't be.
Yes.
I love it. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But yeah, I mean, there still are things I think are fun. That being said, at the end of the day, it's sort of like you kind of roll with it. I mean, we talked a little bit about you and I were texting back and forth about the Grayson Hotel in New York City, and like, yeah, there's a little bit of a wonky thing with parking there in terms of how they cover globalist parking. Spoiler alert, they don't. But along the way, I'll also say that, like, on the flip side of that, and then, these are the reasons why I love Hyatt. Like, anything else that could have gone one way or another during our stay, the hotel just did all the right things. So, like, my cousin had booked a few nights to stay with us at the hotel, but it wasn't a guest of honor booking because she used her own points. The hotel just extended breakfast to her because she was there with me. And so her and her daughter ate Global's breakfast with us. They didn't have to. They gave her a late checkout. And I'm like, look, like I can put her in one of my rooms. Like, don't worry about it. We'll give her a late checkout. I mean, so, I didn't end up complaining about the parking thing. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I feel like I got more than whatever the parking was going to cost in free breakfast and late checkout for my cousin with zero hassles. They put us all on the same floor, sent us a nice little amenity. Like, it was, like they took good care of us, as the Grayson has done a number of times.
I got to go pay them a visit. Did y'all go? It might have been a little chilly, but you go on the second floor, kind of indoor outdoor wine bar that they opened up a few months ago.
I peeked at it, but the kids aren't allowed, so
okay.
So we couldn't hang out. It was only going to be a couple days when we were at the kids, so we did not do adult beverage time.
Yeah, no, it's a solid. I think it's a very solid Hyatt. People continue to ask me, man. I think Molly in the Slack community just asked this, like, all right, I'm going. Everybody asks me every day. Somebody sends me a DM or message, and what Hyatt do I stay at in New York? I still don't have a solid answer. It's much more to me of, like, I can tell you where not to stay, but besides that, it's who are you traveling with? What are you after? Where do you want to be in the city? And after that, dude, it's just like unless you're gonna fork over the cash or the points to stay at the Park Hyatt, everything else to me is like, I think the Grayson would still be my recommendation. But the thing about me, man, is it's such a small thing, but it gets me every time in New York City. There are undoubtedly every single trip times I have to sit at the desk and do work, and they just have the fake little stools and not a chair. And like, I just need a chair to work in.
But thankfully, they actually have a desk.
They do have a desk, yeah, but I just need a chair. And the other thing is, like, those stools are like just screwed in, and a lot of them gotten wobbly. Anyway, everybody's like, "Who's talking? Who's complaining about stools?" If you're a business traveler, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You got to wake up in the
100%.
morning or sit there at night and do work. You just want a real chair to sit in and do work. Like, that's all I really want.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but Grayson, I really don't think you can go wrong. Yeah.
I would also say, and I understand I'm going to be among the minority here. I'm not a big Park Hyatt fan. Like, I get the room size is great. Like, that's the reason to stay at the Park Hyatt. Also, Andaz Fifth has nice sized rooms. I find the staff to be fairly standoffish the handful of times I've stayed there. I just don't get a warm and fuzzy when I'm there. And I walk in a place like the Grayson, and they're like, rock on, like, let's have fun and helpful with luggage and all that stuff. So
yeah, I really haven't interacted with the staff besides check-in, I don't think. But to me, Park Hyatt is room size, quality room that showers, my favorite shower in hotel showers in the world. And then the room service breakfast for globalists, and then going upstairs to get a workout, a swim, a steam room before like a day in the office, dude. It's just like, fuck, I did every time. It's just, again, what is going to make this least stress as possible? And that Park Hyatt does it for me. But I don't have 40,000 points every night to just drop and make that happen. So
there's that, yeah.
Yeah,
or $1,000+ a night.
Yeah, if you're lucky, only $1,000. Yeah.
So if you had to guess, let's wrap this up and say, like, do you think this year is most likely United and Hyatt for you?
Yeah, Hyatt, I'm all in. I'm gonna chip away at that lifetime globalist as much as I can. Also, really want the free Miraval nights. I've been trying to take Emily to Miraval for a few years now, and like, I'm just gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
And having an additional free night that's $2,000, $1,500 in value. It's all in Hyatt. And then Flyman, like, I got today as of recording really to decide if I can apply for a JetBlue card to extend Mosaic status. I just don't know if I care because of their ops. Man, it's just like, it would be a nice backup to have. So maybe I draft the application today, and if I get it, great. If I don't get it, I don't. And so besides that, I'll start all in on United, and we'll see, how it goes. It's going to be down. They keep changing flight times around a little bit on United. Sometimes the Sunday blocks don't make a lot of sense to me, where there's like a noon and then a 3:30 and then a 4:30 and then there's not another one until 9. And I'm like, man, I'd really love like a 6 p.m. flight to get in New York at a reasonable time, but maximize time at home. It's just stuff like that. So again, it's going to be much more about the process of, does this make it stress-free? If not, maybe I just suck it up and go to Delta because there's a flight to one of the 3 airports every 30 minutes all day, every day. And I just deal with it, Like, I don't know, man. So we'll start on United. We'll see how that goes. And then we'll just be worried about the process from then on. So United and Hyatt definitely to start the year.
Yeah. And I mean, JetBlue's on-time performance has not been great. So I certainly understand your feeling there. On the United schedules, I've sort of noticed the same thing, that they've started moving times around. So where I first saw it was, I used to be able to stay in Vegas till, I think it was like a 6:20 p.m. departure to Chicago. So I get a full day of work in Vegas, take a 6 p.m. flight to Chicago, crash overnight, get up the next morning, and fly home. 2 changes. Now the last flight of the day to Chicago is like 4:30. And that's a big difference. Doesn't sound like it, but like if you're got to be at the airport at 2 something, like now I don't have a full day. And then there's no more, or at least when I looked the last time, there wasn't a 7 a.m. departure anymore. It was like an 8:45. So now I'm getting back to D.C. at noon, and I'm losing half the day when I land. So that's unfortunate. They finally added a second nonstop from Dulles to Vegas. Wait for this, man. 12:45 p.m. departure.
What time what is that? You landed like 1 or something like that?
2:30, yeah. It's like a complete waste of the day in both places.
Yeah, the whole day is shot in both places. Yeah.
They still don't have the nighttime flight, which is what I want. Like, I need a morning departure or a night departure. I don't need a middle of the day mess up my business day in both cities sort of place. So
it's gonna be 100% leisure target right there.
Gotta be. Yeah. So yeah, I still don't have a nighttime flight that I can rely on. Short version, I did end up, renewing Pass Plus for another year. I think I'm going to get screwed on how long I get it for. I think they're going to, short my contract by 2 months. It has been a painful process, but
I think it's really difficult to give them money.
yeah, they made it very difficult to give him money. But I think this will be the last year I do it, because it does seem, even though nobody's confirmed this to me in writing, it does seem that they are raising the requirements to $75,000 in spend to get a Global Services nomination. And quite frankly, I think airline ticket prices are going to, by and large, for people like you and I think they're going to go down a little bit in 2024, or if anything, go up just a little. I don't think we're going to see a 20% increase in fares this year.
Take a look at, I've been spending a lot the last few days here at my parents' house. A lot of travel to plan for January and February for the Kerrs. Mentioned my flight to Florence is still intact. It looks like we're going to be doing a European cruise instead of trying to hot hotel. Man, I spent a couple hours looking at max occupancy 3 in places like Venice and Florence and everywhere in between, and the Dolomites. And dude, it was just going to be it was just going to be a lot, man. So that's when I just put that in the group text, and someone was like, "That's why we're doing a cruise," and I was like, duh, like, why hadn't I looked at it? Sure enough, I hopped right on, and there's like awesome MSC cruise. We've done one MSC cruise and we really enjoyed it, and it's like $300 a person for like a week or something, man. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna do this because we can pack and unpack once, and we'll go see 4 countries in a week, and it's gonna be awesome. So that's what we're gonna do now. Gonna take the family to New York for 2 weeks and get a little apartment there. So we're gonna do a little homeschool action tour in New York. I'm gonna be in the office for 2 straight weeks, and we're gonna do that. Gonna take my dad, give my mom a Disney trip planned by me for Christmas, trying to figure out how this is going to work. So we're going to take my mom to Disney. She can't really walk, so she's got a really bad hip and knee, and she's going to be in a scooter the whole time. So a whole lot of logistics to figure out here. A lot to work on. So that's kind of what I've been spending my time here, downtime, as well as planning a lot of business stuff for Built, which I would be remiss, man, as we wrap up here, if I did not mention. By the time this episode airs, you will have already missed it, but the January 1st rent day for Built was a lot of fun to plan and put together. We got up to 150% transfer bonuses to Flying Blue, Virgin Points, and IHG. We also have free Lyft credit. We also doubled the redemption value of points for Amazon. And we just, coming off the heels of the status changes that we announced, and a lot of people were bummed. We said, hang in there. We hit them with this thing, and I can just tell everybody there's more great things on rent day to come in 2024. So a lot of work going into that, and just really trying to reset these batteries, man, for what I always knew that January and February were going to be nuts, just based on everything on the Kerr and the Built calendar coming up, man. So trying to lay low here for a few days, plan as much in advance as I can, which is very not much my style, and make sure we're ready to go. And I'm gonna shoot some fireworks off with Thomas and my dad on New Year's Eve, and then hit the ground running, man.
Yeah, time of recording. We're recording this before New Year's. I've got, call it 48 hours to decide. I'm planning a honeymoon for a really, really good friend of ours, Lauren, who's our Disney.
Shout out to Lauren.
Shout out to Lauren. And I told her,
Orlando
I said,
Insider.
Yes, I said my Kerr points. She knows you. I said Kerr Points is going to help us make your honeymoon a reality, but I'm torn, man, because I don't know if I don't know if I should push the points to Virgin or push the points to Air France KLM, because she wants to do all the things. They want to do London and Greece and Paris, and I'm all like, I got to figure it out. So I got 48 hours to figure out which one I'm pushing to. Thank you for making that decision for me.
Yeah, I've been trying to get the family back from Europe after the cruise. I keep finding myself back on the Flying Blue, KLM, or Air France websites, man. There's just there is availability. If you got to go somewhere, there's a flight every day. It may not be the best price, but then there are the days where it is really well priced. Got a Thrifty Traveler alert yesterday for 50,000 business class, including to Atlanta. So, dude, I know I read a lot of the coverage about the Rende, and some people were very much like still not into speculatively transferring. Dude, at 150%, I'm speculatively transferring my hind dinger off, man. Like I'm like hitting that transfer button on the first.
Hind dinger.
There's no way I'm not speculatively more than doubling my points. So I don't understand that, but maybe some of the bloggers can chime in and let me know why they don't recommend doing that. But I keep finding myself back on KLM and Air France. You got to go somewhere, there's going to be a flight. You can get to where you got to go. Might be an economy, but if you got to get somewhere, who cares? And it's good to have those miles in the bank.
No, and that's actually a really good segue to talking about Thrifty Traveler, who is our sponsor again this week. And you brought up the alert that I saw, and I was really hoping it would roll over into the time period where I need to book Lauren's honeymoon. But man, I mean, what a solid deal. And I keep seeing these, week in, week out. And to your point, a lot of stuff from Air France and KLM Flying Blue in terms of these 50,000-mile business class awards. But this one specifically for folks who are trying to figure out if Thrifty Traveler Premium makes sense for them. This was Europe for 50,000 miles each way. This one specifically was 2+ passengers through March, and then also November, December of 2024 if you wanted to do the Christmas markets. And I mean, it was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 or so departure cities for each of these to Amsterdam and Paris. So Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Dulles, Detroit, New York, Raleigh. I mean, so all the markets. And if you stack up the idea of, say like combining a built rent day with, these sort of 50,000-mile awards that are coming out, having knowledge about these ahead of time from Thrifty Traveler so you can jump on them and get these alerts totally makes it worth your while. You get even one of these to book over the course of the year, you will more than cover the cost of your annual subscription to Thrifty Traveler Premium. And if you're new to the service, you see our code on the screen. The code GO10 will take $10 off your first year. I've definitely gotten my money's worth, and there were some other, fun but couldn't take advantage of them deals this past week. They had a Florida Panhandle deal that I used to help my cousin get to Florida for her spring break, and then they had a really cool route that Swiss. Did you see the Swiss First Class award they put out from
Rio to Buenos Aires?
Yeah. So just cool stuff. So that's the sort of stuff that you'll get from Thrifty Traveler Premium on a weekly basis. I'm averaging. I have all the cities selected, and I have, just looking at the past week, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I mean, there's got to be 25 deals that have come in over the past week. So, in my opinion, I'm getting plenty of value out of my paid Thrifty Traveler Premium membership.
My problem is that I'm jaded with the deal that we got going to Europe, that with the 25% discount for kids, the 4 of us total business class back to Atlanta was 175,000 Flying Blue miles total, right? That's, obviously less than 50,000 a person. And then I look and I'm like, I paid 47,000 total to get here in business class. 170, this is whack, man. This is a terrible deal. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm so jaded now.
You gotta stack that rent day promo with that 150% bonus, man. That'll make
we
it
will
feel,
be, yeah. Dropping it down to like 90,000 built points total for the 4 of us to fly back in business class. Like just ridiculous value, right? So
there you go.
Excited to take advantage of that.
All right, well, enjoy your rest of the time hanging out with the family in Charleston, right?
Yep, Charleston, South Kakalaki.
South Kakalaki, hind dinger. Take your
Always
goat rope and have fun in Charleston.
That don't make any sense. You're not using that right now. Okay.
Yeah, but you're the one that brought it to the show. I just want to make sure I'm sharing these colloquials with you. I want to be one of the people, just like you.
Man of the people, coming to you soon, New York City, January.
Man of the people. I have 0 trips booked for 2024, but we'll be getting on the road soon, I am sure. Like I said, we're going to try and chase down Summer and Julian and talk a little bit about what we think is going to happen in 2024. And man, there's some summer planning coming soon once we can figure out what the heck's going on with our daughter in college. So lots more to come. Big thank you to Allison and Joey for my awesome coffee mug. Thank you, Richard, for vetting the stalkers and making sure that that you're not giving my address out to every weirdo that wanders by. Just some of the weirdos. Some of our favorite weirdos.
We love you, Allison. You're not a weirdo. I don't care what it says.
Right. All that and a whole lot more. We hopefully will be back in front of our regular setups next week without these horrible lighting and baby pictures in the background. But until we upload again, we've got miles to go.
I'm speculatively transferring my rear hind dinger off, man.